Ladies and gentlemen, thank you kindly. Thank you so very much for joining in. This is Against the Wall, and welcome to it. Your host, Themba Lukhele, formerly known as Skeem. Vandaag, I've got my guy all the way from the US of A, Atlanta, or Atlanta. Baby zange, bana leya, ngishoda ngayo, but vandaag isilungu sami namadata. If siyaphela, please don't blame me. Blame it on the international. I've got G-Money himself in the building. My brother, let's greet the people at home and tell us, just give me all the full names, brother, because the G-Money, as Arup saying, I know Gucci, that's the money-making name. That's your stage name.
Yes, so in Atlanta, I've been given that name for about almost 20 years ago. I was known as G Money. I used to always come in, diamond out, juiced up. So one of my business partners back then, everybody used to just call me G.
Yeah.
And, New Jack City was the thing. So
Yeah.
he was just like, no, man, you're G Money.
Yeah.
Even though I've always hated the name G Money because
Yeah.
G Money was a sidekick and he was a snitch.
And
You
you're a
know.
living testimony. You had that money.
Yes, I had that money, man. I had the bag.
You know, people that want to own up, whether you had it in unscrupulous ways or straight, but a lot of people, when you are asking them about the real core business,
Yeah.
they don't want to own up. So you had that money.
I had that
And we
money.
are still going to deliberate, dive in deep. You are
Yes,
going to
yes,
let us
yes.
know, good, how did we make it and how did we lose it? And let's just take it back, my brother. Before we go any further, I just want to check because a lot of people are blaming it on the environment where we grew up, the parents, siblings. There's always someone to be blamed
Yes.
in misfortunes. So I just want to understand from your end, did you have a solid, upbringing and you growing up, learning the intricacies of life, where you were solid someone or you had a fair share of troubles like any of us?
Yeah, so I mean, if we start from the beginning, my father was a functional crackhead until I was about 11 years old. I mean, we were dirt poor. We grew up in the gutter of St. Louis, Missouri, which is the murder capital of the United States. Very dangerous part of the country. But it taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm a small guy, man. So I grew up playing baseball, football, those things. Football is a sport, American football, NFL. Football taught me one thing. If I catch you on your heels, no matter how big you are,
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on your back. It's actually the one thing that made me as tough as I am today.
Yeah.
Before football, before getting punched in the mouth and all those types of things, I was always scared of fights and all of that. After about my 8 or 9 years old, I was fighting only guys bigger than me. I always wanted to take out the bully, and it actually led all the way till I am to where I am today. I do not like seeing people prey on the weak. So I'm this guy that when you see me, you know that I'm going to take care of whoever you think is weak. I'm right there and I'm their savior at all times. So, now going through life, I've reinvented myself, and now people call me Blame It on G, which was just a Instagram moniker that I came up with some years ago.
Yeah.
But I found that in business and in life, when you're the patriarch of your environment, whenever something goes wrong, they always blame it on you. So that's why I came up with Blame It on G.
You're a menace of society. Why would they blame it on you? If ever you are not a delinquent, you are not someone negative, you are not someone who's actually bringing a reign of terror in communities, why would they blame it on you?
Well, so going back to my dad, which I love the man to death,
Yeah.
I'll never speak an ill word about him, but I watched him as a risk taker.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. And like I said, I told you he was a functional crackhead until I was around 11 or 12. And something flipped in him, and he completely changed his life. He became one of the biggest mortgage brokers in the United States as a black man when I was in high school. And we went from dirt poor to all of a sudden we were living in mansions. He's driving all these fancy cars. And then unfortunately, he lost it all. Due to some crime, some other things, And I watched, my dad's also a Baptist minister.
Yeah.
So I watched growing up, I watched all of these preachers and all these great Christians and all these things. And when my dad got into trouble, he sold his business in, I think, 98 for 49 million USD to a company called Citicorp. 1 year later, they came back because they found out his whole business was fraud.
Yeah.
They came back and opened up all these cases and things. And I start seeing the pastor was a criminal. The deacon was a criminal. The minister. I mean, everyone in the church was a criminal. And
Man of cloth.
Man of cloth. Oh man. So and I grew up watching the crooks like Bishop Eddie Long and Creflo Dollar and these guys with these prosperity ministries, which I don't want to use the word hate, but I hate them all because someone has to work.
Is a strong word, man.
Yes, it's a strong word.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because my God, yes, they pushed me away from fellowshipping with them, but they didn't push me away from my faith.
Oh,
and my faith and my God, everyone has a destiny that he has, here for us.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in Bishop Eddie Long's church one day, and he says, look, I want 1,000 men to bring $1,000 in front of the church. And yes, everybody started getting up, taking their $1,000, writing checks and giving it to him. Yeah. And here's a stadium with 50,000 people in it. And, so on that day, those 1,000 men, it's $1 million, in 20 minutes that he makes,
He's doing maths.
Oh, man, and so all of a sudden you see him die a horrible death, the worst cancer that a man could ever have. And you say, wow, why would they happen to him? Well, I know why, so God is just. At all times, man. Yeah. And so even moving forward into my life and going to prison and different things like that, I never complained. Yeah. Why? Because that statement, God is just. I can't decide what my punishment is going to be. Only God can decide. Yeah. And all you can do is accept it and move on. So we can take a step back. Yeah. In watching my dad, he was my hero, man. I watched him for many years, and all I wanted to do was do what he did. Yeah. He was big in real estate, big in construction, big in mortgages. And so I went away to college, 2001. Yeah. I had a full ride scholarship to play football. Yeah. I started my first 4 games, and I ended up hurting my back. And I only went to school to play football. I did not go to school to learn. I did not go to school for a career. I wanted to play big college football. I wanted to have fun, those types of things. And so after I hurt my back, I immediately was like, at school, I'm done. I learned one principle in school that still sticks to me to this day. Yeah. No matter what your business is, you could be a laundromat, it could be a Fortune 500 company, you could be a drug dealer. It doesn't matter to me. Every business has 3 key components: sales, finance, and production. Yeah. That's it. You will not find a different component in business. If you can control 2, you can be rich. If you control 3, you're a billionaire. So in picking the industry that I wanted to be in, I loved real estate and construction because I knew I could control 2. Yeah. And I just needed to figure out how to control the 3rd. And that's when I taught myself sales. I believe I'm the world's greatest salesman. At 19, I had my first child, my son. Yeah. I have 2 kids. I have 2 biological children. Yeah. One's 21 and the other one's 20 now. My daughter goes to Ohio State. My son's working in Atlanta, Georgia.
You're still young, man. That makes you 41.
I'm 41. Oh. I'm 41 years old, man. I know I don't look it, man, but I am 41. But I also have 3 adopted children. I have an 18-year-old, I have a 23-year-old, and I have a 29-year-old adopted. They're all girls. I love raising girls because I'm a guy that wants all of the girls in my life to know that as popular culture tells them, they have to bust it open to have a good, successful life. Yeah. You can actually do it a totally different way. Yeah. And I think I was telling someone this the other day. The first person that gets their hands on you at the age of 18, it can shape your whole life. Yeah. The first 2 people that got their hands on me, unfortunately, were my best friends. One was 31 at the time. The other one was 34. I was 19. I was super smart, but I was very dumb when it came to understanding people and understanding how people will use you and misabuse you. So it was one of those things where they could have turned me into a politician. They could have turned me into a lawyer. Instead, they turned me into a money launderer. And I'm going to say half the time I did not know. Because if... Thank you, son. Thank you, brother. Because if you're a drug dealer and I'm doing real estate and I say, look, man, let's do properties together. And you're steady coming to me. And you wire transfer your money to the same place I wire transfer my money. We go out and do a successful real estate project. You make your money, I make mine. I don't care if you sell drugs. That's your business.
Yeah.
Me, I'm in
You
the
just wanted
business.
money, yeah.
That's it, man. I'm in the
Yeah.
business of taking on investors. I'm in the
Yeah.
business of making money for the people that I do business with. So at the time, at 19, I became a real estate broker.
Yeah.
And I started a real estate company. First in the United States, you had to become a real estate agent, then you become a broker. As a broker, agents can work for you.
Yeah.
My name of my company back then was Metropolitan Realty.
Thank you, sir.
I ended up turning it into, thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
I ended up turning it into Metro Brokers, which was the name of my company. In 2005, beginning of 2005, I had over 900 realtors working for me. I had 9 locations. I had 4 in Atlanta, Georgia. I had 2 in Houston, Texas, and I had 3 in St. Louis, Missouri, where I grew up.
Hey, I'm talking to a reputable person here. Hey, a revived criminal. Hey, because if you go to prison, it doesn't matter whether you have done it or not. The fact remains, if the system, they processed you and they found you guilty, so it makes you a criminal.
It makes
so
you
if
a
you are
criminal.
reintegrated, whether you have done it or not, as long as if you are found guilty. So that is why I'm saying a lot of people, they take offense.
Yes.
So whether you call me a criminal, whether you call me Ngulube, Wiskebing, or whatever, it doesn't matter. The fact remains is now things have changed.
Yeah, of course.
We are influencing people otherwise. But I'm interested now in this 19-year-old now swaying into this business. You mentioned 2 of your friends. I want to understand the influence and the negative impact that had in your life.
So let me make sure that I explain to you when I was a criminal.
Yeah.
I committed my crimes at the age of 19.
Yeah.
19 and a little bit in my 20s. So there's this thing in real estate. You can't do it anymore. But back then, you used to call them front backs. Okay. That means you fix the front, you fix the back. Yeah. You get a crooked appraiser to say the house is completely finished on the inside and it's not. You get a loan from the bank. You take that money, you fix the house, you resell it. No harm, no foul. The bank lost no money. Everything is fine. So I'll tell you how I did my very first piece of property. When I came home, as I told you, my dad was my hero. When I dropped out of college, my family comes from a generation of people that believe that you go to school, you do all of these, these steps that you have to go the traditional way. Yeah. There's nothing traditional about me whatsoever. Not how I dress, not how I look, not how I live my life. And so I went to my dad and I said, listen, man, I want to work with you. My dad said, son, if you don't go back to school and get your education, I'm not helping you do anything. So I said, okay, I just have to figure this thing out. And I had no idea how I was going to figure this thing out. I'm 19. I have no money. All I have is this nice Mustang that my dad bought me for my 18th birthday when I graduated and got my scholarship to go to school. And so one day, and I hope this guy, he's never heard this story. His name is Derek Brown. Yeah. Derek Brown is a guy that I owe my entire existence to. He was 31 years old at the time. I was at a McDonald's getting some food, and he's standing in front of me in line talking to this white woman, and I'm ear hustling. He tells her he has perfect credit, he has $30,000, and he's a realtor, but no one will help him. All the whites in the company, they're all blocking him. They're not helping him out. And so I don't even order food. I go outside and say, I'm going to approach this guy when he comes out because I need an investor. I know what to do with the money, but I need some money. And so he comes outside. I'm leaning up against my Mustang, and he speaks to me first. He said, oh, young man, it's a nice car. Yeah. He said, can I sit in it? I said, man, here's the keys. So we sit down. He starts the car. He revs the engine, and he asks me, he says, man, what do you do? And I said, oh, man, I'm in real estate. I'm an investor, blah, 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 blah. I lied through my teeth. Yeah. Because I knew all the lingo from listening to my dad for years. Yeah. And he says, look, man, whether you are or not, I don't even care, but I think you know what to do. And so construction's been in my family for over 100 years. I'm a contractor at heart. Yeah. And construction side of real estate is where you make your money. Mm-hmm. If me and you are both investing inside of a property, and let's say this property will sell for $1 million, if it costs you $850,000 to produce that property, it's going to cost me $300. The difference, I make $700, you make $250. Yeah. I mean, you're going to be pissed in the end. You're not going to make the money you wanted to, and I'm going to do it in half the time. Yeah. So me and Derek were sitting there talking, and he offers me $15,000. And I'm trying to do the math. I really need the whole 30.
Yeah.
But I'm like, fine. You give me 15,000, I'll match your 15,000. I don't have $1. And I'm hoping he's gonna send me the money. He asked me for my bank account information. I gave it to him. And sure as shit stinks, man. The next day, he sent me the 15,000.
Yeah.
And so I went and bought my
A complete stranger, bro.
complete stranger. I didn't know this guy from a can of
above soul.
paint, man.
Yeah, bro.
And so the next day, I go out and I start looking for properties, and I find this property. I remember the address is 2651 Shenandoah in the ghetto in St. Louis, and St. Louis is an old city. So we have these houses, these brick houses with 3 feet down the alleys, so you cannot see the sides of the houses, you know, in the cities. And so I take the money, I buy the house for $8,000 US dollars. I fix the front, I fix the back. I put down side, all these things, and then I run out of money. I need new windows in the house. So I'm like, man, what am I going to do for these windows? The windows are like 6,000.
Yeah.
So you know what drop ceiling is? So drop ceiling is, you know how you have the ceiling that you can push up, and they sit on those little white rails.
Yeah.
So I took 2 pieces of plexiglass, and I took the white rail, I screwed them up, I put blinds behind them. From outside, they look like brand new windows. But if you touch them, they fall. Yeah, they're gone. They're over. And now I've produced what I want to produce.
Yeah.
But now I have no money to do anything else. Not only do I not have the money to finish, I don't have an appraiser. So now I need to find an appraiser. And so one day I'm sitting. This is how you know. Sometimes they say a person will say, "I say this is how God works," and a person says, "Oh, so God helped you commit a crime." No, God gave me the vehicle to do what I needed to do. He knew that if he gave me something, I would do the right thing with it. And so I'm sitting inside of this place called Applebee's. And I'm sitting there and this guy pulls up next to me and he recognizes my face. I'm a junior. I look just like my dad. And he's like, man, are you Greg's son? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, man, I'm Steve. Man, you know, I do appraisals for your dad. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, Steve, you have to be a criminal if you do appraisals for my dad, right? And so, and so I talk to Steve and I tell him, look, man, I have this property. This is what I need, blah, 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 blah. And he says, man, I'll help you out. So he comes, he appraises the house for 135,000 US dollars. Yeah. I sell that house back to Derek a week later. Back then, there was no seasoning, no nothing. I could buy a house today. I could get a mortgage on it in 2 weeks. It's no big deal. So my first 135,000, I gave Derek his 15 back plus another 15,000, and I ran off with my first 100,000. That day, I come out of this building, and guess who's in the parking lot waiting for me? My father is in the parking lot. And my dad, oh, son, I'm so proud of you, and blah, 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 blah. And so it's one of the people inside of the title companies where you close these transactions, they knew my dad. They end up telling my dad, oh, man, I know you're proud of your son. He has no idea, you know, because he refused to help me. So my dad knows that I did a front and back. Now, immediately, I'm going to take $40,000. I'm going to fix this property. Everything's going to be fine. Derek wants to hold on to it as a rental, so it's nothing. My dad convinces me that I can't do the property, man. He's like, son, you need my help. And what I did not know at the time, my dad was struggling very bad at the time. I did not know because, financially he was struggling very bad. And so out of my first 100,000, my dad told me the construction was going to cost 40 and he needed to borrow 50,000 from me. So my very first 100,000, I gave my dad 90,000 of it. That was in 2002. No, 2001.
You don't call it black tax. You know something that's called black tax.
Yes, I know it very well. My family believes in it very well, you know.
All right. Now you can carry on.
And my dad, so it's 2024. It's 20 some years ago. My dad has still never fixed that house in all these years. He actually caused a very big problem between me and my friend Derek back then. And I ended up fixing the house myself later on. But that year I was 19. So before my 20th birthday, I sold Derek 9 properties that way. Same exact way. Front and backs. We went back, we fixed them. He kept them as rentals. Most of the properties he still has to this day. That's how I made my first $1 million before my 20th birthday.
That was straight, my man. You were flying straight.
Yes, at this
Yeah.
point now, after that, I'm flying completely straight. I
Yeah.
invest in my brokerage. I build it. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. I open up multiple offices. All these things. Everything is awesome.
Yeah.
When I get to Atlanta, and I'll get to my two best friends.
Yeah.
When I get to Atlanta, now I've transitioned from rehabs and I'm doing developments.
Yeah.
So I'm buying 60 acres at a time. I section them off into 32-acre lots. But to save money, I would bring in 3 builders and I would say, look, my lot is $450,000, but I'll sell it to you for $300. But I'll sell it to you for $300 because I want an exclusive right to sell this property after you finish building.
Yeah.
So it gives me the opportunity to, one, say that I'm a builder.
Yeah.
Because I do own a part of the property. 2, it helps my realtors because they get to list the properties to sell on the back end. And also it helps me fast track everything that I'm doing at the same time. So my 2 partners who were both scammers, Leon and Daryl, I love them to death, even though they screwed me. Daryl was a guy who he was doing he was identity thief guy, man.
Yeah.
And I'm telling him, man, can you stop, please, man? You're gonna get yourself in trouble. Like, stop. I don't believe I was telling someone this the other day. Crime doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I just don't like crime against people.
Okay.
When you steal somebody's identity, you
Yeah.
still you still a part of
You
their life
forge-
for years. In the United States, you fuck them over for 7 years
Yeah.
when you take their identity. And so I said, look, man, you have to stop that. My guy Leon was he was like, how do I even explain him? He's like the guy that you go to if you need a business loan, but you don't have credit, you don't have a real business.
Yeah.
He doctors all the paperwork and gets you money from the bank.
Okay, it's a man with a plug.
Yeah. He was the plug at the bank.
So no aggressive crime here. It's
Never,
white collar.
man. Yeah, all white collar. No aggressive whatsoever. My aggression, you know, people sometimes ask me, man, are you a gangster? I've done some gangster things in my life, but it had nothing to do with me making money.
Oh.
It was
just a culture. Yeah.
Yes, it was just a culture.
That hype. Yeah.
That's it.
I
There's
know
only
people
there's only 2 things that I will come for you for. If you mess with my children and you
Yeah.
mess with my money. And it's really only one, it's my family.
taking to the
Because if you
streets.
mess with my money, you're messing with my family.
Yeah. My
So
future.
if you want me to come for you, mess with my money and my family, and I'm coming.
That's
So for me, I don't believe in crime against people because for
Yeah.
me, if I will kill over money and my children,
Yeah.
what will you do? And I don't have time to look over my shoulder worrying about someone coming after me because I've taken from them.
Yeah.
And so I told these 2 guys, I said, listen, guys, I already have the blueprint.
Yeah.
All you guys can come in and do, just sell the properties. You guys will make money.
That's it.
So back then in Atlanta, Georgia, in order to sell $1 million house,
Yeah.
it used to take anywhere from 9 to 18 months to sell.
Yeah.
I wanted to fast track my properties. And so through connections and things that I had from my dad, I made this deal with this company called City Corp,
Yeah.
Bear Stearns, and AMC Mortgage.
Yeah.
And what I told them was listen, I want to finish my properties up to 95%, but I want to leave 5% on the table for my buyer. And what I leave on the table for them, they can come in and do a brand new basement, brand new pool, whatever the case may be. Because the average person back then that could afford to build $1 million house, they were building their own. That's why it was taking so long for you to sell those properties, because the guys you needed to deal with, they said, no, I'm fine, man. I'll build my own. But now you don't have to build your own house. All you can do is come in with $500,000 or $600,000 that I give you back. You can go in and fix and do whatever you want to the house. So what I promised these banks is one, I would do this on the settlement statement, nothing under the table. And if anybody ever lost their house, I would buy it back cash. Why back then? Values of houses, man. If I bought a house today, if this is 2002, 2003, if I bought a house for $1 million today, in 6 months it's worth $2 million. The values were just ridiculous back then. So for me, if you lost your house, I will happily buy it back. So we were rolling, man. Things were great. I only had one rule because I was very leery of the scammers. I was very leery. I must meet the people that buy the houses. I must meet them. And they must show me that they have money. So what my 2 partners were doing, unfortunately, let's say real story. There's a guy that bought a house for me named Ronald Martin. He was a school bus driver. My 2 partners dressed him up, put him in a Porsche, put a nice Rolex on his arm, and sent him to come and see me. And he told me he was a record producer and this and that. He showed me his bank statements. I introduced him to one of my realtors. I said, hey, man, great, no problem. I sold him a house for $3.2 million. I gave him $1 million back at the closing. That money went straight to my business partners. So what they were doing was dressing people up so that they could get that money out of me. And it's messed up because the reason why they were doing this is because my high school football coach was my business partner at the time. I ran into him in a grocery store in St. Louis, and he told me how broke he was and how proud he was of me, the things that I was doing. And I told him, saying, come on, man. His name was William Hines. I said, man, you're with me. Let's do it. Unfortunately, I ended up hooking him up with Leon. He ended up getting a business loan for him for $250,000 US. But what Leon also did was got 3 other $250,000 loans for him, and he kept them for himself. I didn't find this out until I went to prison, that this happened. And so I told them I could not split my land development with them. I could only help them if they sold the properties. And the commission on my properties back then, you'd make $100,000 in commission. Like you would think that's enough. You sell 10 properties, you make $1 million US. Like, why be greedy? But they wanted that money. And they thought that I was trying to hold something for them by not doing it with them. But I already had a business partner. So you want me to, I'm already getting 50-50. And you want me to split my 50% 3 ways. It doesn't make sense, man. And so we went along very well. And I'm a guy, man, that my people, I don't believe in my people not having as much as me. So I'm a guy that I don't believe that we all go out to dinner. It's all 5 of us and we all have our wives there. And every time the bill comes, I pay. No. That breeds jealousy and envy. There's going to be a day when you and your woman are arguing with each other and she's going to call you a broke-ass nigga. And she's going to say, why does G always pay, you broke-ass nigga? I'm telling you, and that's the day that you set me up and you rob me and you shoot me. That's the day it happens. And envy, I tell people, is a very dangerous thing. Jealousy, you want what I have. Envy, you want to be me. You will kill me over envy. You know, and so...
We have a lot of Skeem GPs out there. It's a problem.
It's a lot. It's a big problem, man. And so when I knew a group of guys back then, they called themselves the Black Mafia Family, BMF. They're huge, man. Big meat. They're huge drug dealers. And my best friend, he's 68 now. His name is Wheezy. He's Wayne Joyner. He was a BMF guy. And when they all went to jail, I got picked up also. So I had... in Atlanta, when you read about me from back then in the early days, I was big in entertainment, but it was because I owned the popular nightclubs back then. And what I found back then, I wanted to party my way. I didn't want to party. So I come from an environment in St. Louis that when you go to the club, you better be strapped up. You better have a knife or something because afterwards it's going down in the parking lot. So I wanted to create an upscale Black environment. And at Atlanta, Georgia, it was a perfect scene because Black people have money there. And so my first club was a place called South Beach Bistro and Bar. My second club was called Taboo 1, Taboo 2, and then I had the Blue Room back then. All super popular.
We had Taboo in SA, my man.
You guys do have Taboo out here.
We had Taboo,
they wish they could be me. That Taboo. I'll show them one day.
Please don't lose that trail of thought. I just want to understand one thing.
Yes.
Do you therefore maybe agree or disagree with me when I say you had everything that suggested, Guti, you were living a thug life? You know, someone who owns nightclubs, you roll with beautiful girls, driving nice cars, you know, ice on your chest, on your wrist. It suggests to good, this one is the one that belongs to the underworld.
So in our society, so I was a part of the first group of guys that made up making it rain. In the club. So we used to walk around with briefcases. Man, we just had so much money back then. The money was just raining from the sky. But I was a guy that, you know, if you look me up and ask somebody in the street about me, you say, man, what do you know about G Money? It's, oh man, you don't want to be in a strip club with that nigga right there because he'll have all the bitches and you'll want to go home. You'll either want to rob him or you're gonna want to go home. You know, I asked a guy here once, take me to the strip club here. And he says, man, it's nothing like the United States. And I said, what do you mean? They don't make it rain inside of the strip club. So he's like, no. I said, what? I'll change strip club culture myself here. Why? Because you will not want to party with me in a strip club. Because the floor will be covered. I'll show you videos when we're done, man. I mean, the most I ever spent in a strip club was $900,000 US in
The
Miami.
Mayweather situation that we see.
KOD in Miami, man.
That's you, Chief.
Yeah, man. So
Mayweather goes to the bank, you pull with the trunk. The next thing, it's raining.
It's raining, man. It's raining for days and days and days and days.
Let's go back to the clubs. You're talking about the clubs, the club scene, the club culture. You gave birth to a nightlife.
The club culture back then, man. Yeah. You know, these guys, they were all older than me, all these BMF guys. And as a kid, these are guys you look up to. I have 8 uncles, you know, they were all drug dealers and contractors, you know, and that's how they used to clean their money, through construction. And so these guys who are my friends also, I ran back into them as a baller. They grew up in the Midwest, St. Louis, Detroit. I knew them from there, but all of a sudden they showed up to Atlanta, and by the time they showed up to Atlanta, I mean, when Meech those guys went to jail, they took $260 million cash from these guys.
You went down with them.
So my original case, I got arrested with them. I was quickly removed from that case. I had nothing to do with what they were doing. I've never sold drugs in my life. I've never financed drugs. I never did anything. I was a white collar guy, man. You know.
Was it separation of trial, or they exempted you because you had no connection, no links?
I had no connection. They had to let me go. So I was in jail for about like 2 weeks with them. And actually, God bless those guys, man, because a lot of them spoke up for me and said this guy has nothing to do with this. I was a kid, man. I was 22. You know, I was just a kid. I was a smart kid, but I was just a kid. Plus, in my world, in my life, everyone looked at me as just an upstanding businessman. I was married at the time. I had 2 beautiful young kids, and they just looked at me as this up-and-coming guy. They had me run for Fulton County Commissioner. The mayor of Atlanta testified at my sentencing hearing. Asked them not to send me to jail.
You're a reputable person, Chief.
You are
a guy to go to, Chief. You're not just a man anymore. You're a steering in your story.
Yes, man. So when I used to come around, I used to wear 3-piece suits every day. You didn't see me. I wasn't sagging and jeans and all these things. I was a consummate businessman, man. I was super fresh. One of the reasons why thugs liked me is because I never pretended to be something I wasn't. Ever.
You're living the life.
I was just living the life. I would show up at the roughest nightclubs in my 3-piece suit, you know, and I would party with everybody else, and I'm just being myself is who I was at the time.
Tell me about women, Chief. When you are there, Chief, you become that guy.
You know, the Wall Street Journal did an article on me in 2003. And they say you see a guy, this kid with all these fancy cars. Everybody wants to know him. Everybody wants to be him. All the ladies want to fuck him, you know, and you want to be like this guy. And I didn't realize at the time, because I was young, I didn't realize that was breeding so much jealousy and envy around me. I had no idea. I thought everyone loved me, you know, literally. But I was a victim of robberies, all types of things back then. So when I say like the street side of me, it was something that was forced on me because, you know, if you come to rob me, I'm going to protect myself. It's just that simple. But I'm a dangerous guy because I know dangerous people. But it's not because I want to harm somebody.
They listen to you.
They listen, man. A dollar goes a long way, man. I tell people, be careful. This $1 right here, I'll take your head off with this $1 and you'll never see me coming. So it's like as I kept growing and moving on in life, my thing was I wanted to educate the black people that were around me, and I wanted to take everyone with me. When I say I had 900 realtors, 850 of them were worthless. But I was trying to build everyone. I was trying and trying. And back then, it was this thing that all the models were realtors. So I had 90% women, you know, working for me back then. But I was trying to turn these girls into these like powerhouses. Because if you see Atlanta, Georgia, it's the guys like Sadote that are out faking like they have money. It's the women that actually have it. So Atlanta, Georgia is a place that has 4 historical black colleges. It has a major university, Georgia State and University of Georgia. So you're sitting in a city with 4 million college students and 90% of them are women. And they're all going out into the workplace. So that means the women are the ones that have the money. The guys are out faking, trying to come up with the women, you know. And so as I saw I was also like a lover boy, man. I love love, man. That was just my thing back then.
So in real life, you were an influencer, Chief. You influenced a lot of, culture.
Yes.
That happened in those time or those days.
Yes, and that culture that I was influencing was more so, it was thug life, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
I thought that I was influencing black people to go out and do good business, know that they were smart enough to do it, take chances. But that nightclub side of me, the jewelry side of me, the cars and all of that, it showed something totally different. All of my tattoos and things that you have, I didn't have these for years.
Yeah.
I didn't start getting tattoos until I was 37 years old. And the reason why was because where I'm from, we have to look the part.
Yeah.
The white people have to trust us. I have a face that white people say, wow, I trust this guy.
Yeah.
And I had to take advantage of that back in those times. So when my case broke out and I got released from that first case with those guys, the feds they were so pissed. They just knew there was something that I was doing, but they couldn't put their finger on what I was doing.
This is the federal government.
Yes, the federal government. So you have...
Before we get into the case, you are coming all right now. Can we just dive in deep with this federal government? Can you explain that thing? Yeah, we've got the Hawks.
Yeah,
we've got the NIA. So I want to understand the federal government.
So in the United States, the Hawks would be the FBI.
Yeah.
The Hawks. So and the federal government would be like the commercial crimes division.
Yeah.
Where when you go there, your ass is in trouble. So you have the states in the United States.
Yeah.
And so let's say, when my case broke out, so let's say if the local Atlanta police picked me up, my case would say the state of Georgia versus Gregory Wings.
Oh.
And the state, they don't stand a chance. I would have never went to prison. I would have paid a couple people, a couple judges. I'd have never went to jail if the state would have picked me up. But when the federal government, when they want you off the street, when they want your money and they want to throw you away, it's the federal government. That means the White House. That means Washington, D.C.
So you are the
so when
enemy of
you're
the state.
Yes. So it says United States of America versus Gregory Wings. You're fucked. They have a 90% conviction rate. Like when the feds come to get you, there's like, I mean, man, it's bad. Some of us, we have balls, that we will go against the government. I actually went through 3 weeks of trial in my case because what they were accusing me of, I legitimately did not do. I was not laundering money for BMF. I've never done it. Did I sell them houses and cars? Absolutely, I did. But I paid my taxes on that money. I never hid the money. They weren't bringing me suitcases of cash. They were wire and transferring me money. Where it was coming from, that's none of my business. And I always felt like that was my out. I was not the one that helped them do whatever they were doing. But in the United States, there's a thing called conspiracy. And if you're making money, you're in that conspiracy. So that's what I got convicted of conspiracy to commit bank fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering is what I got convicted of.
Did this have anything to do with your skin color?
1000%. So I'll give you a little education about the United States. So in the 90s, Hillary Clinton sits on the board of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Ginnie Mac. So those three are companies that insure mortgages in the United States. And what they started seeing in the 90s was that black people, we could afford to pay for a mortgage. That we weren't just dumb monkeys sitting on the porch, that we only could afford a $20,000 house. But what they also knew is that black people trusted black people. So when black people trust black people, they want to do business with other black people. So they started empowering guys like my father. So in 1992, when my dad became a mortgage banker, all you needed was a birth date and a birth certificate, and you could be a mortgage banker.
That's it.
Now, it's a full FBI background check, all of these different things. But they knew that they needed to empower these black men in order to get to black money. Oh, of course they were fronting, 100%. There was always a white person behind. And so what they were doing in the 90s, they started coming up with these things like called 3-in-1 arm, which means you could have a set rate for 3 years, and at the end of that 3 years, you have 1 year to refinance on your mortgage and get a new mortgage. Well, what they started seeing with these 3-in-1 and 5-in-1 arms, they knew that the average minority's credit is good for 3 to 5 years. So you come in and the values, remember I told you how fast values were raising back then and going up. So if you buy a $200,000 house, right? They're saying in 3 years that house will be worth $450,000 to $500,000, but in 3 years your credit will be bad, so you cannot refinance. So all of a sudden, a person on a set income. So let's say your mortgage payment is $2,000 a month, and you make $4,000 a month. At the end of that 3 years, every 1 year they can raise your interest rate by 2 points. So all of a sudden you were paying $2,000 and now it goes up to $3,500.
You're fucked.
And you're fucked. You're on a fixed income. There's nothing you can do. So what do? They foreclose your house and they go back and they resell it on the open market. They sell it for $450. So now they've stolen your equity. They've stolen your house. They've stolen everything from you. So what the feds did, and the same thing that they did in 1988, they came up with this this disparity between crack cocaine and cocaine. So if you were Pablo Escobar and you got caught with 1,000 kilos of cocaine, you could get 10 years in prison. But if you're black and you get caught with an 8-ball of crack that fits in my hand, it's 25 years in jail.
No problem.
And this same 8-ball of crack is worth $800. Where Pablo Escobar is worth billions. But it was a way to...
We are talking about the skin now.
Yes, man. This is all skin color. And it was a way to lock us away for years and years and years and years. I'll go back a little bit further. And you start doing your research in the United States. And between 1965 and 1982 or 83, I was born in 82. You'll see that the Republicans were in office every single year for 20-something years. And what happened was...
That's a political party, by the way.
Yes, that's a political party. We have the Republicans and we have the Democrats. And the black people in America follow the preachers. And so if I told you, first of all, an oppressive party for my people is the Democrats. And if I told you that Martin Luther King died a Republican, you would tell me I was a liar. There's no way. But he died a Republican. You wanna know why? Republicans got rid of Jim Crow laws. They gave us the right to vote. They gave us all these things. If you said if I asked a Jew, would you ever vote for a Nazi for president? They would be willing to slit their throat. They wouldn't care if the Nazi was giving away $1 million every time you voted. They would never do it. Then why would a black person ever support a Democrat? Ever in their life? So here's what they did. There's a company called the Rainbow Coalition that's owned by Jesse Jackson, who was one of the, he's another crooked preacher just like Creflo Dollars and the rest. You have Jesse Jackson.
You are going to get us arrested. Hey, this podcast, they're going to send FBI here.
So Jesse Jackson got a investment. $40 million investment into his company, the Rainbow Coalition. All of a sudden, black people weren't Republicans. They were Democrats. If you ask the average black person right now, why are you a Democrat? They'll say, oh, my uncles won, my grandfathers won. But if you go and do your research and you start this is what I tell you about educating the people. If we do our education, you will see that, yes, I can't stand Donald Trump. I can't stand him. But I'll tell you somebody that did nothing for black people. Obama. He did nothing. Look, we're going to get to this later.
What are you saying? Here in South Africa, kids' names here, we've got the Obamanyana, Obamanki, everything is Obama here. You're saying that.
Man, listen, I want you to remember something about the United States president. He can do nothing without the House and the Senate telling him he can do it. The House and the Senate is 85% white. The average age is 65. 65 years ago, they were still lynching people my skin color in the United States. How can I ever trust someone that looks like, what's the idiot who's president now? What's his name? Joe Biden.
Joe Biden,
Sometimes when he talks, I want to say, does he know where he is right now? Because I think he doesn't. No, but that's the guy that's making a law for me.
You know what to say someone? So when you're going to get us arrested. You are calling an American president an idiot. Chief.
Yeah, idiots, man, idiots. Look, when they let me out of federal prison, I told them there's a reason why I still am here in this country. I was supposed to be here 2 days. I've been here 6 months. I told them the first society that I find outside of the United States that I can live the same way I live in the U.S., I'm leaving. As soon as I find it.
That's why you're in SA.
That's why I'm in SA, man.
Yeah.
I love this country. We'll get to the scammers and all of the rest of that, but I love this place, man. I really do.
There's a Burna Boy story here.
Oh,
and you are the anchor.
man,
This
man,
is
it's
the lifeblood
coming,
and the
it's
heart and
coming.
the engine of the Burna Boy story.
Oh, it's
And
coming.
this podcast is going far, Chief. This man, they shot him 4 times or so.
Yes,
Hey,
man, yes,
we need 2 hours. Hey, Jens, we need 2 hours here with this man. No, let's go back. I just want us to journey. Let's focus on the road to prison.
Yes.
What led the demons that led you to prison?
So here's exactly what happened. So I built this community in North Georgia. It's called St. Marlowe Country Club. It was already there, but I bought the back 60 acres of the property. Well, they had this rule in the community that said that Caldwell Banker was the only real estate company that could sell properties in there. And of course, me being a real estate broker, I'm telling them, fuck off. There's no way that you're going to tell me who I have to list my properties through. And so I told my 2 partners, Leon and Daryl, I said, listen, this is a very racist part of town. Whatever we do not put any black people out inside of this neighborhood. Sell to white people. And unfortunately, they sold to these 3 niggas and put them out here in this subdivision. And when you go into this, it's guard gated. In order to get your pass to the gate, you have to give them a copy of your settlement statement. And so this white boy for Caldwell Banker, he gets a copy of these settlement statements and he sees these payments that go back to the buyer. He takes this settlement statement and he faxes it in to the FBI. And he's hoping that there's something there. The FBI told my lawyer, on a normal day's business, they would have taken that piece of paper, they would have crumbled it up and threw it in the trash can. Why? Because no mortgages had been in default. All the payments were paid. The houses were beautiful houses. These were $1 million houses. But they saw my company's name. And when they saw my company's name, they decided to take these 3 settlement statements and dig into these settlement statements. And when they dig into these statements, they go to the mortgage company, they pull the documents, and they see. So back then, you could get a full doc mortgage is 12 months bank statements. That's all you had to show to buy a house. And they started finding out that these bank statements were all fraudulent. So I remember I told you about my partners dressing these guys up to come and see me. Well, they were giving them fake bank statements in order to qualify for these mortgages. And so when that happens, they indict me immediately. Now, at that time, when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at these charges and I'm saying, shit, I didn't do this. I'm going to trial. I didn't prove that I had anything to do with the bank statements, prove this, prove that, and they couldn't. There was no way that they were ever going to do it. And so I remember, man, this day. My lawyer's name is Brian Steele. He's an awesome white man. He's representing Young Thug in his RICO case right now in the United States. And I'm sitting across from him. He's sitting behind his desk. Leon is on my left. Daryl is on my right. And I can see, as I'm talking to Brian, I'm saying, man, fuck the government. I didn't do anything. They can't prove I did anything. And his eyes are going back and forth. And I'm like, guys, is there something you guys want to tell me? Like, Brian, what's going on here, man? And so Brian asked him to step out of the room. And he tells me, he says, Greg, look, I don't know what's happening, but your 2 business partners, I have a feeling there's a lot you don't know. And I also feel like they're going to snitch on you. And so they all come back in the room and we're sitting there with each other. My 8 uncles have been in federal prison. My father has been to federal prison. And obviously now I've been to federal prison. And so I say to them in the room, I say, listen, guys, just level with me. It's fine. Whatever it is that we've done, we can get out of this, man. At the time, the government was offering me 5 years, which means I could have taken that 5 years. I would have done 3 years, been home, moved on with my life.
That's all.
And so I tell them, look, there's only a couple ways this can go. Either we're going to plead guilty and we're going to take our time and go to jail. We're going to go to trial and try to beat this. Or if we decide that we're going to snitch, it's us together.
Yeah.
And it's against the white
Against
boys
us,
in our
yeah.
case. We won't bring any of our friends in. We won't tell on people that have no business being told on. If we're going to tell on the people that are going to tell on us.
It's a war.
I had 91 co-defendants. Only 3 of us were black. Me and my I knew all the white boys were going to snitch on me. So I told them, look, make the decision. I'm going to ride with you guys either way. My partner, Leon, man, he's this big Jamaican dude, man. He's huge. And he's like, oh, he throws his dreads back. He says, oh, fuck no, nigga. We going to trial. I was all right. We're going to trial. So I tell Brian, fuck it, man. We're going to trial. But I also told him, look, if they start snitching, there's one thing that I know they will tell. If we don't hear that, nobody's snitching. But what I did not realize at the time was, if they told that, there is no getting out of jail. We're all going to jail, you know. And so I went to trial. I fought my case for almost about 1.5 years. I went to trial. I was outside. I had my bond was $1 million was my bond. And so I go to trial, and I went through 3.5 weeks of trial. On this day of trial, you know, in the United States, they have these wooden courtrooms. Yeah. And when that door opens, a snitch is coming through that door. And that snitch was Leon, my business partner. Oh, boy. I reached over to Brian. I said, bro, I'm pleading guilty. We're fucked. It's fine. Do not let him take the stand. And so we did not let him take the stand. And I ended up pleading guilty that day. Yeah. And at this time, when you make them spend money, oh boy, that 5 years is off the table. Now the minimum is 10 that I could take. So I signed for 10. But here's how the federal government fucks you in the United States. So they have these sentencing guidelines. Yeah. So they sit you in a room, and you know it's this level 1, 2, 3, and then it goes down the list to a level 44 is the highest. And they're doing these levels. And I end up at a level 34, which is 25 to life. Yo. And I pled guilty for 10. And so this lady, man, sad story, man. I'll try not to cry. The lady who's doing my pre-sentence report is what it's called. She, I'm going to keep talking, but I'm going to just respond to my daughter really fast. But this lady, she says to me, she says, look, Mr. Wings, I see in your case, I see there's a random $700,000 that I know it's your dad. I'm not going after your dad. I won't tell your dad because they sentence you based on the money calculation. Yeah. So my money calculation, remember I told you going back to how they got rid of the disparity between crack and powder cocaine. Yeah. What they did in 2004 was George Bush decided there's too many people like me that are doing this fraud. Yeah. You know, today they use this word scammer. Yeah. That word came up in the last 10 years. Back in my day, it was you were a fraudster or you were a con man. Yeah. Con men, we do things as a means to an end. Yeah. So my front and backs that I was doing, it was a means to an end. It was not going to be a way of life for me. Yeah. And so they ended up changing the guidelines. So when my dad went to federal prison, his loss calculation was $65 million. He did 6.5 months. That's it. Yeah. My loss calculation was 8.7 million. 8.7 million is a 19-point enhancement. So if I could get back down under 8.5, which was that 700,000 that they could take off, my enhancement was 12 points. It's a difference in 25 to life than 10 years, you know. And so the lady says, look, if you can just get your father on the phone, all he has to say, it's his. I'll just take him out. I'll never tell anybody I spoke to him or anything. Me, I'm happy now. Me and my lawyer are sitting there. We're like, well, this is easy. So the lady steps out of the room. We call my dad. And my dad, his exact words, well, why the fuck did you call me? I was like, what? I'm like, bro, you I need you. You owe me almost 700,000 anyways. You know, the least you could do is take this for me. Yeah. And my dad said no, and hung up the phone. And so I went to get sentenced 2 weeks later. This time I'm in jail now at this time. I had been in jail about 11 months at this point. And So what the feds tried to do was when I originally got arrested in 2006, the real estate market was still good. If they take these properties and they sell them on the open market, I have no loss calculation.
Yeah.
But after they drag you for 2 years, and it's 2008, there's a recession. So the house that's worth $3 million is now only worth 2.1.
Yeah.
So now they manufacture the loss, you know. So I go into court and I literally think I'm going to get 25 years. Like I said, the mayor of Atlanta testified, asked for leniency against me, and I stood up to be sentenced. And my judge's name is Beverly Martin. If I could meet her today, I would kiss her in the mouth. She said to me, "Mr. Wings, the guidelines want me to throw your life away, but I just can't. I feel like you've already learned your lesson.
There's hope.
But the lowest I can give you is 10 years." And so she gave me the 10 years, which was 122 months is what they actually gave me. And so in being under the age of 25 and black, instead of me being able to go to Club Fed, as they call it, with all the other white boys in my case, I ended up going to the United States Penitentiary. I went to the same penitentiary that Al Capone went to. It's called USP Atlanta. The walls,
How bad is that thing?
the walls are as big as this building, all the way around. You see no sunlight, you see no outside, you see nothing. I'll tell you guys this funny story about my first prison fight. My roommate was a guy named Gator.
Yeah.
Gator is as big as this doorway, and it's huge, man. It's a huge dude. He was from Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And in prison, the most expensive thing that you can buy is chicken. And it's $3 US a chicken pack. And I mean, the chicken pack is as small as these pineapples right here. And my locker used to stay full with them. And I used to never lock my locker, just me and him in this room. And I used to tell him, "Look, Gator, man, get what you want. Just replace it. It's fine."
Yeah.
And so I used to start seeing my chicken is missing. And I would say, "Hey, Gator, did you get something?" He's like, no, man, it wasn't me." So I'm like, "Man, am I crazy?" I said, "Okay, he thinks I'm stupid." So I started marking my locker.
Yeah.
And one day I realized he's stealing from me. And, you know, I was so angry, you know, back then. And so when I found this out, you know, like a mop handle, you know, I go and get this mop handle. I put it underneath my mat.
Mattress. Yeah.
And I slept on the top, he slept on the bottom. And he snored like a grizzly bear. So I said, okay, as soon as he starts snoring, I'm going to take this mop handle and I'm going to split his head open. And so I sneaked down off the top bunk. And, you know, I played baseball, too, as a kid. So I'm lining up this mop handle to literally try to split his head open. And as I raise the mop handle and come down, I don't account for the top bunk. And it bangs into the top bunk. Oh, man. Gator woke up and beat my ass, man.
Hell broke loose.
Listen, when I tell you he beat my ass so bad, you know, and, you know, it's only, he's going to beat my ass till the guards show up.
Yeah.
He got tired, sat down, caught his breath, and beat my ass again, man. You know, it was so bad. And then, you know, this is how fucked up the prison is. They're supposed to separate us.
Yeah.
Instead, they take us to the hole and put us in the hole together.
Oh,
They're hoping he fucks me up again, you know. And so we're in there, and I walk inside of the cell. I'm like, oh, shit. I'm literally going to have to kill this dude if I can, you know, in this cell. And I walk in, his back is to me. And he turns around, and I think, man, it's about to go down again. And he's like, "Man, G, man, you got a heart, man. My bad, bro. I was stealing your chicken and shit, man. It's cool." Me and Gator are friends to this day. Now, man. And
Your chicken friend.
my chicken friend, man. And so on my sentence, the good time that you get, you do 87% of your time.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to do 8 years, 7 months.
Yeah.
I ended up doing 8 years and 4 days. I ended up losing so much good time, you know, it was just is what it was, you know.
Yeah.
I stayed fighting. They ship you from prison to prison. They call it diesel therapy. Yeah. So I spent 31 and a half months of my time.
It draft, they take you from one prison to another.
Oh yeah, man. And they chain you the whole way and you're bouncing up and down on the bus. And they take you from prison to prison and they leave you in the hole. From one prison to the next, they leave you in the hole. And so I did 31 and a half months in the hole. Locked down 24 hours a day, no sunlight, no nothing.
Hardcore. So you enjoy the pain of a prison, Chief?
I'll be honest. Jail. Oh, I've experienced it all. I got stabbed in my chest right here in a prison fight.
Yeah.
Prison was a wild place for me because on the streets, I don't jump in other people's business.
Yeah.
But in prison, you have no choice. You
have to.
You have to.
What do you think is happening to R. Kelly now, wherever he is? And what kind of prison? Is it a maximum? Is it a medium?
He's in a medium security prison.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as long as he has money, he'll be okay.
Is it?
Because pedophiles, which he is, in prisons, they get fucked up. But what they do to you in federal prison, you go, so the levels, you have a max, you have USP, you have medium, you have low, and then you have camp. They send these pedophiles to the lows. What happens to guys in lows, everybody wants to make it to the camp. You all want to be at the camp. The camp, man, I only lasted at a camp for 90 days. And I'm a really good poker player. I had this guy who owed me $3,000 from playing poker, and instead of paying me, he ended up snitching on me and saying I had a cell phone. And they came and they caught me when I was bringing my cell phone down. That was my only experience at a camp. A camp has no fence, no nothing, man. You can leave, you can go home, fuck your wife. Yes, man. Literally, it's boarding school. And so what they do to pedophiles aren't allowed to go to camps because they're afraid of them sneaking back into society and hurting another child. But in these lows, everybody wants to go home. So the pedophiles are in these low security prisons. So they're safe. Nobody's going to fuck them up because if you touch them, you're in trouble, if you touch them. So R. Kelly's in a low security type of situation, he's fine where he is, man. Unfortunately.
It's not that hectic.
It's not that hectic for him.
All right.
It probably was at first. He probably did a lot of his time in the hole because that's what they do to you when you first have money. When I first went to prison, they put me in the hole. I said, fuck no. Put me out there, man. I'll take my chances.
But I interviewed a lot of people. They are saying, Chief, whatever you are saying, prison is still prison. I don't care whether you've got $1 billion or whatever the case is. But now let's talk about the contrabands. This side, that side, same thing. Because people, they've got their own ways to survive.
Yeah, same thing.
Guys
as long as you have money, I bought a cell phone every prison I was at. I was eating street food every prison I was at. They bring you girls. They do as long as you got money. You can survive in prison. Without the money, it's a rough life.
Tough.
It's a rough life without money, man. I'll tell you how bad the prison is here when we get to that part of the story.
Yes, you survived death, Chief. And,
I did.
A life-threatening situation. If you don't mind, can we just maybe journey on that?
Yes. So I got out of prison January the 3rd, 2014. I'll lead to the story. I came home. So when I went to prison, they took $19.5 million from me. I sold my brokerages. That's where the money came
21,
from.
my man. How much is that?
In
South
African dollars. Whoa, it's a lot. Times it by 20. And there you go. You're talking. My math works like a computer.
Yeah, sure.
40, you're almost 400 million rand, somewhere around there. And so I had sold my brokerage, in 2005. That's where that money came from. And I had around $2.5 million ducked away. And so I left that money to my mom. I come home in January 2014 thinking, I know they used some of it, but surely I have something left. I had nothing. I came home to $0.
Right.
000 is what I came home to. And so I asked my mom, listen, if you just let me live on your couch, I'm going to get 4 jobs. I'm going to work for the next year. I'm going to save up 100,000. And don't worry, I know what to do from there. I'll get rich again. And so 7 months in, my probation officer calls me in to see her. And she asks me, where do I get this 73,000 in my bank account from? Now, mind you, excuse my language, this bitch, I saw her every single month. I saw her, showed her my pay stubs. I showed her my bank statements. I showed her everything. What do you mean where my money comes from? And so that day they arrested me. That day. They arrested me, threw me in jail again for 30 days. They took my little 73,000. When I got out, they actually told me I was not allowed to stay in St. Louis, Missouri, and I need to go back to Atlanta, Georgia. Now, I was happy because going back to Atlanta, that's where my kids were. So I was very ecstatic to go back there. But Atlanta's where I caught my case also. So I went back to Atlanta with nothing but a car. a car, and this woman. Her name was Sierra, my second wife.
Yeah.
We moved back to Atlanta. In February, no, let's see, that was December. So January of the next year, 2015. So February 2015, I saved up a couple dollars to take her to this fancy restaurant called Fogo de Chao.
Yeah.
We're inside of this restaurant, and this guy runs up on me. G Money, man, I'm so happy to see you. He hugs me. Big dude. I'm yelling at him, man, put me down. Who the fuck are you? And there's a guy named Anwar Soya. I call him Adam. He's my business partner today.
Yeah.
I loaned him $250,000 US dollars in 2002 to start a residential HVAC business, which is heating and cooling.
Yeah.
He sold that business for almost $50 million while I was in prison. And he had sold it about a year and a half prior.
Yeah.
And they gave him a 10-year non-compete. And so he came back and wanted to open up a commercial company. Yeah. And so when I met him, he was just a year and a half into the commercial business. And he said, listen, man, I have to give you a job. Come and see me. Now, here's a guy, me. I've never had a job in my life. The 4 jobs I was working, like, to me, they weren't jobs. I was delivering pizza for Pizza Hut and Domino's and stocking shelves for CVS and Walmart. And so I go and see him the next day, and he shows me this commission structure. He will pay me 30% off the top of anything that I sell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, man, you're telling me if I sell $1 million, you're going to pay me $300,000.
Yeah.
Yes. I said, okay, sign me up. My first commission check from him was $68,000 US dollars. At the end of my first year working with him, he owed me close to $800,000 US dollars in bonuses and everything. I had already made about $700,000, $800,000, and he owed me that in bonuses. Instead of paying me, he knew that if he paid me, I was gone. I'm moving on with my life. I'm gone. And so he offered me 48% of the business instead of getting rid of me. Now I'm a partner in the business. And our agreement was in 5 years, we sell the business. So I built that business on my back. I was the only salesman. Now we have over 1,000 employees. We're in 19 states in the United States. I'm in 4 countries, 5 if I include Johannesburg, South Africa.
Chief, eh?
Yeah, man. I mean, last year my company did over 50 million, 55, almost 60 million USD in sales. Now we didn't take that in. Our bottom line is about 12%, but we clear anywhere from 8 to 10 million every single year. And so don't believe everything you read on Google. Google says I'm worth 25 million. But Google doesn't know what they're talking about. But moving forward, that's how I got back to where I am today.
Yeah.
When you think of graduating from prison, to me, when you talk about me and my life and being a criminal, you need to put some respect on my name. Because I went to prison. I lost 19.5 million. I did all of my time. I came home. I did all of my probation, and I paid 8.5 million in restitution. I lost almost 28 million US dollars. I paid for my life back. So to me, when someone speaks my name and says I'm a criminal, to me it's like, okay, but fuck you, because I was a child. It was 20 years ago. How dare you use what I did when I was 22 against me today? And my record since I've been home from prison has been impeccable. There's not a person in 21 years of me doing business, you won't find one human being that says I screwed them in business. Not one. You will only find people that says, man, he's awesome. Hey, man, I love him. Hey, man, he helped me. He helped my child. He helped this. He helped that. It's a shame that now people use that as a stigma. You're a second-class citizen after you come home from prison. And so 2018, unfortunately, my business partner, which I love him so much, I found out he was stealing from me. So I have a black card, American Express, personal. He has one personal, and then we also have a business one.
Joint.
And so every month we pay $250,000 towards our black card for the business. And 2018, I found this company that wanted to buy us for $35 million. And he kept like pushing me. No, I don't want to sell yet. I don't know what's up. But he has the controlling stake of the business, so I can't sell unless he agrees. And so I'm pissed. And now I want to do an audit of our books. I want to split our company. I want to move to the West Coast. I'm tired of Atlanta, all of these scammers and all these people in Atlanta. I was so tired of Atlanta. And so my bookkeeper that I hired, he kept coming to me and says, Greg, I want you to look at something. And I know what he's gonna, I know he's gonna tell me some bullshit. And I know it's gonna be about my partner. And I keep telling him, I don't care, man. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. And one day he slides them underneath my door of my office. So I open my office door the next morning and I see these papers. And so I'm like, oh shit, what are these papers? And I picked them up. And I see that my business partner, these $250,000 payments were actually going to his personal American Express. By the time I saw it, it was $2.8 million. By the time I saw it. So I go to him and I tell him, listen, man, all I want you to do is admit it. Put the money back. He's rich. I know he has the money. Just put the money back, man. It's good, man. We'll just act like it didn't happen, man. And he looks at me. He's a Muslim guy, and he starts telling me he swears on Allah. I mean, he kills everybody. He kills his wife. He kills the daughter. He puts it on everybody that he loves, man. And I'm looking at him, and I say, okay, don't worry, man. Here's the lawsuit. I'd already had a lawsuit ready for him. He settled with me so fast. He gave me the $2.8 million. Within 1 week, I settled with him. I moved to L.A. L.A. had an initiative at the time with the marijuana business that it needed to have that diversity inclusion. And so
it's legal, by the way, that side as well.
Yeah, it's legal on that side. So I went to L.A. I opened 4 dispensaries in L.A. after I got my license. So I have a license to sell, distribute, and cultivate in Los Angeles. So the weed business, the marijuana business in the United States, is very big. It's a lot of money. But what I realized really fast, it's just a legal way for drug dealers to make money. And so, which is fine. I don't care. But I don't also believe in drug dealing. I don't believe in harsh drugs. Marijuana, I mean, I smoke all day, every day. So, I mean, it helps me actually with my gunshot wounds, smoking. But I started finding out the guys that I'm selling to, we're selling out of the back door. They're shipping to other states where it's not legal. And this is how I met Sodote Wanchuku. And we became friends. I met him, I believe I met him first. I met him in 15, I'm sorry. End of 15, when I started making a bunch of money. He knew a mutual friend of mine named Gus. Sodote was a guy, they used to steal cars and flip VINs on cars. I bought a Rolls Royce from him. A Rolls Royce, it was a Ghost for $225,000. It was a $500,000 car. You're selling me for $225. It's brand new. You have the paperwork. Shit, I don't care where you got it from. I'll take it. And remember, I told you I do not like crime against people. I was out one day, and a cop pulled up on me and told me that the car was stolen, and it was stolen through an armed robbery. The car was stolen from a lady and her daughter. I felt so bad. Because when they give you these cars, they give you a title. The VIN number matches the title. They give you everything, and I end up, but they did not unhook the LoJack system. So the manufacturer gave them the location of the car. So my first dealing with Sodote was me beating his ass for selling me a car that I almost got arrested for, that was stolen. And I ended up leaving him alone after that. I ended up running into him again in the weed business. He was buying weed illegally in California and shipping it back to Atlanta. And my boy Gus was flying out, buying it for him and shipping it back. At this time, he had this stupid nightclub that he had at the time. Oh, it was so stupid, man, this club. And he was losing money hand over foot. He'll tell you he's this big nightclub owner. The nigga, every nightclub he's ever had failed in the first 6 months. But at any rate, Gus, I love him. So I started selling him weed to send to him. And then 2019, I divorced my second wife. Sierra. And I was flying into LA from Atlanta. I had these 4 gold suitcases with me. And a lot of guys know I also play poker. I'm very good at poker. I play a lot of cash games. And usually when I travel, I'll have these gold suitcases with me. And the person will know I have cash on me. So when I landed, my manager of my dispensaries, he picks me up. And from the airport, we take me to the dispensary, do a little business. He has this kid with him. And he's going to take me to my house. And I'm like, hey, drop this kid off first, man. I don't want him knowing, where I stay. And so we go to drop this kid off. And we drop him off. Nothing goes wrong. He gets out of the back seat, but he knocks on the window. And he says, man, I left my charger. So he opens the door. When he opens the door, a guy comes in. This Mexican kid comes in with a gun. But he goes towards the driver first. And so we're tussling in this car. And my instincts say, look, hopefully we can get this guy out of the car. We can get the gun. But if this gun goes off, I'm not getting shot in the back of my head. I got to get out of this car. The gun goes off twice. It goes through the windshield. And where we are parked, we're next to cars. So literally, man, it was the slowest getaway on planet Earth. I had to smidgey out of the car. And when I got out of the car, there's 3 guys waiting for me outside of the car. Now Mexican. I know these 3 Mexican guys outside the car. Now I know I'm being robbed. And so I get out. I give them literally everything. I had, as you can tell, I love Cartier frames. I had these diamond Cartiers with the nuggets in the front, on the side. I even gave them, and I can't see without my glasses. I even gave them my glasses. I gave them my watch. I gave them everything. And the guy, I'm pretty well known. So the guy is like, yeah, you thought you had this pass out here in LA. I'm like, look, bro, just go on about your business, man. Everything is cool. My hands are in the air. They turn around to walk away. And he turns around and he pulls the trigger twice. He shoots me twice in my stomach. I fall. He shoots me in my back. And I roll underneath the car that I parked.
Were they scared?
I feel like he shot me out of fear. They were kids. One was 17, the other 3 were 18 years old. And I feel like it was just a crime of opportunity. I don't think it was planned out. They just saw me. They picked me up with the suitcase. But the person who set me up was the driver.
Your guy.
It was my guy. And so when they shoot and I roll underneath the car, he starts shooting the driver. But now, I don't find this out till a few days later. I'm on the other side of a car. They shoot me on this side of a car. If you're shooting at them, the car should be riddled with bullets. There's not one bullet hole in the car at all. He's shooting in the air. So they all screech off in their cars, and I am fading. I feel myself like passing out. But your adrenaline is going. I don't feel the pain of the shot. You know that a person will tell you, oh, I got shot. It felt so hot. I didn't feel heat. I didn't feel anything. I didn't know I was shot until I actually put my hand under my shirt and I saw the blood. And so I told you about me being a strip club king. And so there's this guy named Sam. So there's a club in LA called Sam's Hopstra. And trust me, they're like, hey, man, I'm like a god in this place. And this guy, Sam, I used to always send him like bottles of alcohol. We would send shots to each other. We'd throw money at each other across the club. It was just a cool Mexican guy, right? I got shot in front of his house. Turns out he's a MS-13, Mexican Mafia, Sereno. And I hear him calling my name. But I can't like really make him out. I hear him get on the phone. I speak fluent Spanish. I hear him get on the phone, and he tells these kids, if he dies in front of my house, I'm going to kill everybody. Come back and get him and take him to the hospital. The same people that shot me.
Mafia boss is calling the very same people who shot you.
The same people that shot me took me to the hospital. And so they picked me up, put me in the back of their car. Now, my fear is at this time, that they're just going to drop me and ditch me, finish me off. Because, he may have said this, but I didn't die in front of his house if I die along the way. And so they take me to this hospital, downtown LA. and they dropped me off at the back of the building where they dropped me off. But it's in such a bad neighborhood, the doors don't open in the back at night. It's late at night. It's like 1 a.m. And so the kid in the passenger seat, he's looking out the window to see if I can get in. And when he sees, I can tell the guy won't stop. He jumps out of the car while it's moving, runs down the street, picks me up, takes me all the way around to the front of the hospital. He's literally saved my life. And so I remember the next day, this very same one that shot me. The driver of the car that took me is the one that shot me, is the kid that shot me. The other kid was just one of the kids that were there. He takes me inside. Like I said, I died 4 times on the table. I didn't know this until the next day. I wake up the next day. Now, mind you, when I went to sleep on the table, I was 201 pounds. I woke up 163 pounds. So if you ever get fat and you want to lose some weight, give me a gun. I'll pop you in the stomach. You're good to go. Now I can eat a mountain and I can't gain weight to save my life. And I was always an athlete, so I was always working out. But when I was building that business with my partner, I mean, man, you're just working nonstop. You're eating McDonald's and Wendy's for lunch every day, just getting fat. And so the doctors came and saw me the next day. Remember I told you my dad was, he was a bad addict. So the morphine that they were giving me, I was waking up in night sweats, and it was scaring me. I did not want to get hooked on pain pills and those things. So I made them take me off all pills, everything, man. I mean, I had full staples. I can show you my stomach. It's so much pain. But I just know there's so many stories. I have so many friends that got shot, went in the hospital, and then they were hooked on Percocets and all of that, and I was very afraid of it. So I got off of those. I was released from the hospital after 8 days. They wanted to keep me like almost a month. I got out of there ASAP. I feel like I was just going to die while I was there. But the doctors were the ones that told me I died 4 times on the table. I had no idea.
Hey, we thank God you are alive. You know, we can go on and on and on. I wish we had 5 hours. We've never done a longest episode like this one. Can we just wrap it up with the Burna Boy story?
Yes,
I know
yes.
for people to really know and realize, Guti, here is this character.
Yes.
It was because of that thing put you on the pedestal or on the platform. Now you are exposed because of that incident.
So the reason why I brought up Sodote is he's the reason that I even got involved in the show. So after getting shot, I ended up, I have lots of complications. So I was doing multiple surgeries and things. March of last year, I was in a hospital having surgery, and he calls me with this other known scammer, this guy named Kenzo. Kenzo had a relationship with...
this is now in South Africa.
I'm in the United States.
Still in the US.
I'm in the US.
Okay.
They're in Atlanta, and then I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, where I live now. And so they tell me they have this this Burna Boy contract through Kenzo. Now, you may think it's funny, but I had never heard of Burna Boy in my life before that day. I mean, I just hadn't. I'm a hip hop guy, Afro beats is not my thing, and so they played Last for me, and I was like, oh man, I heard that on the beach in Mexico, now I'm okay. I'm starting to do my research. I said, okay, fine. But I had just invested $2.5 million. I have a speakeasy comedy club and a hookah lounge in the Fountain Blue Casino in Las Vegas. I had just invested $2.5 million in it, and I told him, no, man, not right now. But I'll put you with somebody that can do it. So I called my buddy, Wayne Joyner, Wheezy, and I hook him up with Sodote and Kenzo. 24 hours later, Mike Harris, which is the owner of Death Row Records now, he deposited 500,000 USD in UTA is Burna Boy's talent agency. So the show is now, it's going. I get out of the hospital. They tell me the deal that they made. It was the worst deal on planet Earth that they made with Mike Harris. I mean, the worst deal ever. They gave this guy 70% of the show, 70% of a show that I own 80% of. So when they came to me, I told them my style of investing, if I'm going to bring in another one of my investors, I have to protect my investor. So I want a lion's share so I can give them a portion of it. So I told them 80-20. And I was going to give this guy 40%. So I ended up having to go see Mike with my buddy, and we ended up making a deal. Everything was fine. Things were moving. I ended up putting up, they needed like working capital to move around and stuff. So I ended up giving them $250,000 in March 2023. And then they take me They told me that they're going to introduce us to Burna Boy. Now, I've invested in many concerts in the past. I just give a guy my money, I get a return, I'm gone. I don't even get involved. But investors don't meet artists. Even promoters don't meet artists. You know, you deal with their talent agencies. They're just coming to perform. And so he's telling me we're going to meet him in L.A. So they take me to this place. It's called Delilah. Delilah. Private room at Delilah is $6,000 just to rent the room for 4 hours. So I rent this room called in Delilah. It's where all the celebrities come. They tell me this is where Burna Boy wants to meet. So it's okay, fine. We go over there. It's a complete scam. Burna Boy is actually down the street at Ocean Prime. I lived in Beverly Hills for 4 years. And Ocean Prime, I eat lunch there. I get a call from a guy that I know who wants to meet me at Ocean Prime, and he tells me Burna Boy is there. And I'm like, wait a second. He's supposed to be right here at Delilah. So I called the manager at Ocean Prime, and I say, put me a table right next to him. So we walk inside of this door at Ocean Prime, and I tell my bodyguard, look, pay attention to Burna Boy. I want to know if he knows this guy Kenzo, right? Because supposedly they grew up together and all of this. We walk inside of the room. Burna looks up from his phone, looks back down as if he had never saw this man a day in his life. I know now I'm being totally scammed. And so as we sit there that day, we end up getting approached by one of the guys that was with him. And he comes out and he tells us basically Kenzo's a scammer. And look, man, don't worry. I'll introduce you to the guys, but he is going to perform. He's going to show up at the concert. You guys really do have a contract, the whole nine. So I went to UTA, me and Mike Harris with our lawyers went to UTA and said, look, we're either going to sue or you guys are going to take this contract from the scammer and give it to us. And so Sadote at the time is convinced us that Kenzo is the scammer. But him and Kenzo split up my first $250,000. And so they give us a contract. Sadote, he incorporates his business called Ternary Media Group, LLC, in the state of Wyoming. There's 3 states in the United States that you can hide who the business owners are. It's Nevada, Wyoming, and New Mexico. And so he gives me paperwork showing that I'm an investor in the company. He adds me as the operating agreement as his investor, and I'm getting 50% of each show. And so the contract from UTA, we have a contract for Johannesburg and Cape Town, even though he was telling people we had 30 cities and all of this, total lie. It was only 2 contracts. The only reason why I got involved in the show is because I'm big with YouTube. And I wanted to do the live streaming. The live streaming is huge. I didn't give a shit about the ticket sales, none of that. Live streaming, I'll make triple what the ticket sales are going to be. And they claim we had a documentary component to it. And Mike Harris is in film. So he was super happy about that. So in May of 2023 is when we get Kenzo out. We form this business. Everything is good. I get a call from Mike that he wants us to talk to Glenn from Glenn 21 Entertainment, and he's going to give us some insights on things. So we get on the phone with Glenn late at night. It's 2 a.m. in the morning for me. I'm still in Las Vegas. And Glenn tells us, look, guys, I don't know who told you guys that your average ticket is going to be $250, but they're all lying to you. Your average ticket is going to be from $25 to $75 is your average ticket. Now, mind you, Sadote has shown me all of these projections and things that ticket sales are going to be $8 million and blah, blah, blah. Now, all of a sudden, you're going from 8 million to about 1.8, 2 million, you know, and the budget for the show is 2.7 million. And so Mike is like, hey, Greg, I love you, but I'm out. You know, I want my 500,000 back. You know, now Mike at his moment, his money's safe. It's with UTA. He can easily get his back. Me, my money is up in smoke. My 250,000 is gone. I've already given the stadium another 280,000.
Web Ticket is not involved at this stage.
What's that?
Web Ticket.
No, they're not involved. So Ticket Pro is the company that we sign with to sell the tickets. They're not involved yet at the time. This is just us trying to figure out what we're going to do. We signed with Ticket Pro, I believe, in June or July, one of those two of last year. And so we get on the phone with Sadote. Now, at this time, me and Sadote over the years have become friends. And we had been good friends for about 4 years. I had loaned him money. I mean, in May of 2023, he was getting evicted from his place. I paid for his rent, you know, to keep him from getting evicted. I mean, the guy was really my friend. December of 2022, His wife was pregnant. They were about to have a baby. He's about to get evicted again from this place. He asked me if I would buy the house that he was in from the owner of the house. And for me, I'm an investor. So I'm looking at the property. I was going to buy it for him. I could have made a little bit of money, but he didn't have the $25,000 that I required as a down payment in order for me to buy the house. The house was $350,000. And so I ended up saving him from that. I paid 4 months of his rent for him so him and his wife could stay in the house. And so it's funny the things that I hear now and today about him being a baller and all of these things. It's actually, I could laugh so hard my chair was going to fall over. But at any rate, we get on the phone with Mike Harris in June. Mike says, look, I want out. All you guys have to do is sign a release with UTA and they'll give me my $500,000. I signed the release. Sedote disappears for like 2 weeks. He refused to sign. He calls me up one day and he says, Greg, listen, Christian is a guy at UTA. He says, man, Christian told me, man, we're going to be so successful. Don't believe this guy, Glenn 21, because he's doing Delicious Fest. He's our competition. He's lying to you, blah, 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 blah. Bro, please don't abandon me. Me just out of friendship, I'm just like, man, all right, man, but bro, please. I don't want to lose this money, man. I'm going to take this money from my business. Man, so he tells me he needs 1.6 million US dollars and that he has $1 million that's an investor from somewhere else. Total lie. His plan was to try to get the money out of ticket sales and he could pay the rest of the money. And so July 10th last year, I give him the 1.6 million. The other thing that Glenn told us was that everybody in US dollars, that's 27 million rand. Glenn told us that everybody here gets paid on the 25th. And that I only have one more 25th before the show. So I tell Sedote, look, we need to go to Johannesburg. So we plan to go August the 23rd. I buy his broke ass a first class plane ticket, pay for hotel rooms, all of these things for him. And we come out here, man, and I've invested in many shows before. The first thing I should see on billboards is Burna Boy's on his way. It's a month away. Like it's supposed to be plastered everywhere. I see nothing, absolutely nothing. So I started digging, going through things, and I find out he hires this company called Kanya PR, this lady named Helga. I mean, she's the worst PR lady I've ever seen in my life. Look, if I have no visibility on the show, it's your fault. You're the PR lady, right? She comes here, she wants to set up an influencer party, and it's supposed to be $7,000 US. And now me, I did not tell you this. I have a master's degree in business economics. I'm by far not a dummy. And I know numbers like the back of my hand. I don't forget anything. I'm like 7,000 for a dinner out here. And I just went to Saints with 8 people and I spent $200 and everybody had a steak dinner and wine, champagne, shots, and all the rest. So I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We're going to have this dinner right up here at the Four Seasons. We had a great dinner. Lots of influencers came. We had a good time. And we started showing people, because I'm a salesman. So I'm telling her, listen, let me help you with the sales side of this. Let me teach you the marketing. I'm sorry that you think you've been in this industry all these years, but you have no idea what you're doing. And so all of a sudden, we started getting a little visibility with the show. But I could tell that, so this is the first time in my life that I had ever spent 24 hours with Sedote, ever in my life. And I saw something that I hated. He has a big ego. He wants to be the man. You come inside of a conference room, he'll move the person from the head of the table so he can sit there. You're like, bro, what is wrong with you? Show people that you're a human being. Sit on the side. It was just weird stuff. And all of a sudden he has these TV interviews and this and that. And I'm telling him, bro, we're American. Nobody wants to see us on TV talking about a show. At least let's go on TV with someone, And he just wanted to be famous. He wanted to be popular. He wanted to be something that he's completely not in the United States. And here I am. I just have to sit here and listen to these lies. He's telling people, oh, I own a nightclub. His nightclub has been closed for 2 years. The guy who he invested with was trying to kill him a year and a half ago. And I helped him, give him $300,000 to literally save his life. I mean, the guy is literally totally a complete scammer. But I loved him, man, like a brother, man. I really did. One guy asked me once, man, how did you allow, as smart as you are, as many years you've been in business, how did you allow this guy? And I had to say to him, can your mother steal from you? Absolutely she can, because you trust her. You'll never think your mom will take $1 from you. I never thought he would steal from me. And so I tell my wife, we were only supposed to be here 2 days. I tell my wife, look, he can't afford to stay out here. He's going to have to go back.
Yeah.
His plane was booked on the 30th. I said, after he leaves, I'm going to figure out what's going on with this show. I have to make sure I don't lose my money.
Yeah.
Not only that, my friend is Wayne Joyner. I have to make sure that Mike Harris doesn't lose his $500,000 either, you know? And so Sodote goes home. We started building a little bit of traction, but I find that he has this plant, this Helga. Yeah. She's literally a snitch. Like she's snitching every day, you know, telling him what's happening, what's going on. Yeah. But then what happens is she realizes that Sodote's been lying to her the whole time. She realizes that I'm the one with the money. Now she wants to be my friend. Now she gets up underneath me, you know, and she starts telling me Sodote's not paying people. He's not doing this. He's not doing that. And so I'm focused on selling tickets and building the show.
How many days now was the show?
Till the show?
Yeah.
So when we first got here, we had 1 month. We had 30 days. When he left, you had about 3 weeks.
It's a countdown now.
Oh, man, the countdown is it's hard.
So and the day you realized, no, now we are dead.
Oh, shit, man, I was fucked. The day I realized I was fucked was September the 15th.
Yeah.
The Birdie, Sharif was our production manager. Yeah. They take me to the stadium. And they sit me in this room.
Was this F&B?
F&B stadium. Yeah. And it's Birdie, is Sharif, and this guy named Charles from Gear House. Yeah. And they tell me that no supplier has been paid. No supplier has been paid. That's impossible. Because I know that Sodote has gotten $552,000 from Ticket Pro in ticket sales advances on money. So I'm like, nah, it's impossible. But even if it is, it's no big deal. I'm going to call Ticket Pro, Brandon, who's the owner of Ticket Pro. He lied to me and told me he was the general manager at the time. Yeah. But I'm going to call him because in our contract, it says that he can pay suppliers directly. Yeah. So I call him up in front of everybody in the office and I tell him I'm going to come and see him on Friday. This was a Wednesday. So they take me into this next room and I meet all the suppliers. It's like 35 people in this room. And, you know, I'm very strategic in the words that I use. Yeah. Guys, I'm the investor. You know, if you have a legitimate bill, pass it to this guy. I'll see it, make sure you guys get paid, you know. Yeah. But this is not my show. I do not own Turnery Media Group, you know. Yeah. And so we go to see the guys at Ticket Pro that Friday. Sharif hands me these bills. I'm passing them from Sharif to Brandon, and I see it's $10.5 million. And I'm like, oh shit, I hope there's enough. Because Sodote was giving me these fake reports I know now. I did not know at the time. Yeah. We had only sold 6,000 tickets. Yes. By September we're just a few days out. No, not the 15th. This was September the 8th. So 2 days later, the 10th. We're just a few days away from the show, and you've only sold 6,000 tickets. Yeah. But he showed me before we came here, we had sold 17,000. Yeah. Then he showed me 25,000. So I'm thinking the money is there. Yeah, you could. I asked Sharif to step out. Brandon shows me that there's only 783,000 rand. We're fucked, We're fucked. It's $40,000 US. So now, in order for me to save my money and to save my investor Mike Harris's money, I have to invest more money in the show. Yeah. So I have them pay me the 783. I pay one of the suppliers, and now I need to find out the depth of the deceit first. Yeah. So I call Sodote and I tell him, look, bro, where is this 552,000? Oh no, man, it's in the bank account. I'll show it to you. OFAX, they seized the money, but they're gonna give it back to me in 24 to 48 hours, and I'm gonna pay everybody. Now, OFAX is called the Office of Financial Asset Control in the United States. Yeah. When OFAX takes your money, goodbye. Yeah. You won't see it for 2-3 years. So when he starts telling me this 24 to 48 hours, I know he's lying. Yeah. So I asked him to send me something. Let me see it. So he doesn't send me anything. This is a Friday. Yeah. I wake up Saturday. I see an email between him to this guy, Charles, at Gear House. He tells Charles the same lie, and he sends a screenshot of an email from the bank. But on this email, I see this wire transfer number. I almost have photographic memories from wire transfer for any number. I almost see it. And I saw the last 6 digits, and I said, I've seen this before. Where have I seen this? So I go to my text, and I put this last few numbers in. 9 months prior, he really did have some money taken by OFAX, but it was $2,900. Oh. $2,900. He changed the number to 552,000 and sent it in an email. Yeah. So now I'm like, oh shit, this piece of shit. Yeah. Like, I'm not getting caught up in this bullshit. Yeah. So I bring Charles, I bring Sharif, I tell Birdie, I show them everything. I show them all the scam. It's collapsing, man, and I'm not about to lose any more money in this collapse.
Let's wrap it up. I know we are way beyond our time now. No. As we are wrapping it up, I want you to maybe say a few things, because I know that you are very passionate in helping and assisting.
Yes.
And ever since you go to South Africa, your journey has been, a roller coaster.
It has been.
And you were knocked at some point. You had cases
Yes.
and FNB. I so wish one day I could just bring you back so that we pick up from where we left off. But I
Absolutely.
really appreciate your time. But now, as we're wrapping it up, the work that you are doing currently, and obviously you've got a wish list. Sometimes you just say, okay, come in, guys, if you want me to help here and there. But people would take advantage. But what is the now?
So for right now, my goal is to not expose, but to help educate
Yeah.
the people of South Africa of what's going on in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So I'm here to invest.
Yeah.
I'm here to help. But the person that I'm here to invest with, the person I'm here to help with, they have to understand I work 24 hours a day. If you want my help, you have to outwork me. I work very hard. I like what I do. I love helping people, but I don't want to be scammed either. I mean, we'll get to the story later on another time, but I just got scammed for 7.4 million rand on a RDP job out in Free State by a piece of shit named Biblos. I'm coming for you. Yes, I'm coming for you. So, we'll tell that story when I come back. But I'm just not interested in being, scammed again. I'm very passionate about what I do. I love construction. I love it. But entertainment is an industry that I also have a lot of passion for, that I like investing into. But sometimes in entertainment, you deal with thugs in the entertainment industry. So I love YouTube as well. I see a lot of young kids here on the YouTube scene that they have no ideas. They could be making millions in USD, not rands. In USD, they can be making millions. Those are the kids that I want to help. So for me, I'm wide open. I'm an investor. It just has to make sense for me. So anyone that wants to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram. It's Blame It On G. Blame it all on me, even the good and the bad. So I'm here to help though, man. I love this place. I live here now. I still have my place in the U.S. I bought a house out here as well. I love this country, man. I really do.
You gotta love this platform, man. Against the Wall podcast. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. And I know, Guti, it's the first, but definitely not the last time.
Yes.
You are going to see more of him, and we are going to push and make sure, Guti, it reaches, it will be all over and everywhere. And definitely you pledged, Guti, gents, I am here to assist, as long as if it will make sense. So it has to have that barter deal effect.
Yes.
So, ladies and gents, I'm sure if you've got questions, say my comment section. It's gonna be traffic today. We always say, subtitles, no subtitles. I'm sure good we are solid. Thank you, Malik and Media. Over and out. We love you guys. God bless.